שלום, אנחנו לומדים מתוך הספר כתבי בעל הסולם, בעמוד 600.
Hello, we're reading from the writings of Baal Sulam from the book of Shamati, article on page 927. This is the article about fear that sometimes comes upon a person. We want to remind you about the St. Petersburg Convention. This lesson is a preparation for it, and we're inviting you to ask questions about the topic. As always, you can ask on kab.tv.
So again, reading Shamati, page 297, about fear that sometimes comes upon a person. When fear comes upon a person, one should know that there is none else but him, and even witchcraft. And if one sees that fear overcomes him, he should say that there is no such thing as chance, but God has given him an opportunity from above. And he must contemplate and study the end to which he has been sent, this fear. It appears that it is so that he will prevail and say, there is none else besides him. But if, after all that, the fear has not departed from him, one should take it as an example and say that one's servitude of the Creator should be in the same measure of the fear, meaning the fear of God, which is a merit, should be in the same manner of fear that he now has. That is, that the body is impressed by this superficial fear, and exactly in the same way that the body is impressed, the fear of God should be.
Well, that's obvious, because the need for this world altogether is in order to show us how can we learn from it the upper force. With regards within the upper force, we already work with vessels of bestowal, qualities of connection. How can we prepare ourselves for it? A person lives according to his vessels, according to his qualities. If I'm in senses that perceive only a small fragment of reality, which is the lowest, the lowliest, on the bottom level called this world, then moving to a higher world means improving my senses. How can I improve them if I'm still in the state of the lowest degree of this world? So we're given exercises by which we can make a change in our senses, and then if our senses undergo the correct change, then we begin to feel the upper level in it. So there is no other condition but equivalence of form, so that our qualities will be similar to the qualities of the upper degree. And so one of the strongest means is fear, which comes to a person, and he has to replace that fear. In his state, he receives fear from lacking something in his degree. That's a fear of threat, or of being hungry or sick, or doesn't matter what, that he doesn't get along, or that instead, in short, fear of life. That's fear in this world. And if he replaces that fear with none else besides him, and that it all comes from the one force, the single force that is unique and one in all these levels, and if he sees that it's all sent to him from that force, and it's in order to fulfill the purpose of creation, because there are no other actions in reality, and it is only sent to him to move him, to promote him, to advance him, then he has to replace that fear of not of that corporeal fear in his degree to a fear of, will I be able to rise to a higher level? And always understand that it comes from the Creator in order to advance me, so that this fear will become appreciation, honor, attraction, gratitude for being sent these fears to be awakened towards change. In this way, one is on a kind of a seesaw. The corporeal fear comes back to him in all kinds of ways. It's not necessarily actual fear. It could be all kinds of calculations of that nature. And then does he prefer to see that there's none else besides him, not in order to overcome the fear, but in order to see that it's only coming for that and to be in bestowal, because the fear is felt in the vessels of reception, and if he rises above them, then he begins to feel life in vessels of bestowal, where he doesn't feel fear, rather joy, the opposite. And that joy too, is it because he got rid of the fear? Meaning, is he using the spiritual sensation to get rid of the corporeal sensation in his vessels, or he wants to bring contentment to the Creator who sent him that fear for that to begin with? So many calculations here, but most important is at least to understand the first point of the scrutiny, that everything that I feel comes from none else besides him. And I have to try to detect that state and see that feeling, and see that it comes to me in order to help me rise above it, to transcend it and tie myself to none else besides him, the good that does good. And that's the article. Questions? Here's Samnon.
In the article he says that we know that there is none else besides him. It's obvious what to do. There's none else besides him. That's true. But
if none else besides him, then there's nothing to do. You're saying we know what to do, none else besides him.
Well, it depends on him then.
No, but you're saying we have nothing to do if there's none else besides him. Okay, yeah.
So the thing is, the suffering of the body, which transforms into another kind of suffering, to desire to cleave onto him. I suffer in my body.
The body's suffering becomes spiritual health.
How?
From the suffering of the corporeal body, we are reinvigorated spiritually, because you overcome it. And based on that suffering specifically, you build your kli. You can't do it otherwise, because you feel the suffering in vessels of reception, which are not entirely full with something. Money, some other pleasures, security, all kinds of things, what they need. Food, sex, family. You feel something's wrong. Health care, too. It doesn't matter. So, what you feel bad about, what you have fear about, the fear is a result of your empty vessels. So now, by the environment, in this study, you can draw some light and pull towards it, and then begin to ascend internally. So where you had emptiness, you begin to fill it up with a sense of closest to no one else besides him.
But the thing is, it's suffering, not fear. I suffer in my body.
The suffering becomes pleasure. How does the suffering of hunger become pleasure when you start eating? specifically.
This is a corporeal suffering?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's a matter of an empty vessel. So as you fill it up, you think you're filling it up with food. No. It's not the bread itself. It's the same light. It's only clothings of it.
In fact, it's worthwhile for a person to suffer corporally, if that's true, and then by himself he will transform to something spiritual?
That's true, according to the principle, the natural principle. But Kabbalists instead prepared the matter of the group and the Torah for us, meaning the method by which we can start without bodily lacks first, equipping ourselves with spiritual lacks. Why don't I have connection? And then I elevate it to a higher level of development. Instead of always going left, right, it's like I literally fly forward, because I immediately embrace the principle of not suffering in the bodily vessels, rather in the human vessels, and later on the spiritual vessels. And so I immediately climb to a whole different level. It's like a little one growing on the hands of the adult. Or just like how every generation is based on grows on at the account of the previous generations. Why always use your lowest vessels? You can move forward. Because we're also sufficiently evolved due to previous cycles and generations. So we don't want to just evolve by regular, plain suffering. It's desired to immediately leap from it to the suffering of connection. That's what I suffer from. And then I'm already in the Kli. Instead of feeling emptiness in my guts, that I lack something there, I start feeling that I lack connection with the group. I made a leap to a higher degree, and I found the actual vessel where I discover the Creator. In my stomach, I'm not going to find the Creator. So until I'll come from suffering and corporeal beatings to spirituality, that's impossible. It's only by being given the Torah from outside. You see,
you're saying that the suffering builds the Kli?
The suffering builds the Kli if the person uses the Torah. The method, not otherwise. You see how many people suffer in the world? It doesn't lead them anywhere. In the best case, it leads them to some yoga or something that allows them to alleviate the suffering. All kinds of methods, religions, and so forth. But the correct method, the suffering doesn't lead you there. It doesn't take you to that. You see, in Babylon, in every situation, now too, as much as people will suffer in the world, and as intelligent and wise as we are, we won't find the method of correction because it's above the human mind. We don't have the preparations within our intellect. And even those who come to it, look how many years it takes them to wander around until they embrace the principle, because the light comes from an upper level and there's a cut between the levels and we can't find it. Only if a person follows exactly what the teacher says and does it exactly where the teacher tells him, which is the group, and feels that this is where the Creator put his hand on the good faith and says, take it, and this is what he feels in every moment, and he discovers it, then it happens. We have to hear it many times until it finally is impressed on us, and then we somewhat follow it. But a person himself will never go there. From the corporeal suffering, we don't come to spiritual suffering. So you see, the Creator puts the person on put the person's hand on the good fate. He brings the person to the group and says, look, everything is ready for you, and so forth. We are incapable. Not that we're incapable, it's just impossible. On each and every level, even when we leap from corporeality to spirituality, when we cross through that barrier, there too we always have to have a new Torah, a new Creator, meaning these definitions on every level will be new. Okay? Yes.
After the fear awakens and we manage to tie it correctly and rise above it, does that mean that we perform the correction for that specific desire?
If you direct the desire you had, let's say common fear of something, and you direct it towards none else besides Him, and therefore you rise in connecting to Him because you see the fear as a sort of a clarion calling upon you to come closer, to connect with the Creator. And you begin to feel, instead of the fear, the good that does good. Now the question is whether that good that does good calms you down, or you're accepting it not as something that calms you, not for that sake, but for the sake of being closer to the Creator. And now you wish to replace the fear of what you lack to the fear of will you be able to do what you have to do for Him, to benefit Him, meaning to replace one fear with another, one lack with another lack. That's it? Yes. Yes, quickly.
Is Rav willing to put me into his heart along with all of my friends?
The heart is open. It's the collective desire. And we learn from the relation between the degrees that the lower one has to make actions to discover the upper one as the upper one and cling to him. In the same way, you can also work towards the friends in the same way. If we learn that every friend has to be as the greatest of the generation for you, then what's the question? Then towards the friend, you can work the same way. Yeah.
The Holy Ari says that in every free gift there is the flaw of shame. I would like to know how we can get rid of that flaw.
We have to bring ourselves to such a level of education that you'll be so educated and subtle and intelligent that you'll feel the shame. Meaning, today you're doing all you're doing without seeing these actions. You're stealing in every moment, right? But from above, you are forgiven. Why? Because you're a baby. You're a baby. What can be demanded of you? It's like with babies. We don't take these things into account because these are your actions from below, mindless spiritually. So there's no account with you yet. But you should know that you're a villain, a criminal, a thief, and that's why you're not on a spiritual level yet.
Yesterday in the lesson you used very harsh words in order to describe our situation and our inability to get even the basic terms, concept. What is arvud? What is love of friends?
Because there's a lack of emotion in it. What can I do? There's no emotion in it. How many times we reiterate another word, the same word again and again, until something happens inside, and then I begin to feel the inner content of it. It begins to stick with me, some feeling, not just hearing it and seeing letters, but also some inner emotion correspondingly. It takes time. The light works and works and works until it builds the kli. Yeah.
Now I'm trying to understand what you were trying to tell us yesterday, because you used the word a disaster in order to describe the situation. In truth, I was talking to a few friends, and what's amazing is many friends didn't even hear that. They didn't even hear what you said. Now I'm trying to understand how we can take what you said and create out of it that fear that we're talking about, that we need.
This is your business. This is your business. But if you will embrace it, it'll be okay. If not,